currently in our classes, professional certification. Some of them, I'm sure maybe they might be familiar with Ayman already from our Sham classes. For those that are not familiar with Morgan, I'm just going to speak briefly, take approximately 2 to 3 minutes to introduce Morgan. Morgan International, again, we're an international organization providing training and development. Sorry for that, providing training and development in the field of professional certification. We are based across 32 locations. I'm based currently in Abu Dhabi, overlooking UAE. We have offices in Amman, in Bahrain, in London, in France, in Canada. And we have leading partnerships in terms of the professional certifications that we offer, we provide in general. We provide professional certification in the domain of human resource, digital marketing, accounting, finance, one of the specialty. And I'll show you a brief about the different certifications that we're providing. And of course, industry workshops that one of them that Ayman is going to be presenting about. The slides are going very fast. I don't know if it's my laptop or it's it's on this. Now, these are what we are specialized in as Morgan International. Professional certification, diplomas, such as SHAM, CPA, CMA, digital marketing, foundational certificates. So feel free after the session to get in touch with us. You'd like to know more about the professional certification, the different certifications that will be able to take your career. I think most of you that attended this session would be from an HR background, ideally. And one of the certification that is going to be there is the SHAM certification, CP and the SCP, which is one of the most highly sought after certificate. It's an American certification, very engaging, very well equipped, in high demand. So for those that would be interested to understand more, please feel free to reach out and our team would be able to support you accordingly. Thank you again. I can't thank you much for being able to attend. Now it's 7 p.m. in Dubai. Probably some of you have had a long day and we look forward to having a productive session. Ayman, I'll let you proceed from here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Saleh. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. And thank you for the introduction. I have a humble experience in human resources. I don't want to sound old, but probably over 25 years, not as a trainer, but as a hands-on. So I've been working for a long time in human resources. And it's a pleasure to have you all on board. We're going to go through, we've chosen a topic that's a kind of a hot topic over the last, I don't know, decade or 2 decades. It's always a mess, this issue of performance management, and it's a core activity in HR that the outcome of it has a lot of impact on a lot of HR modules or other functions. So we thought, why not tackle something that it's pain in the back for all of us as HR professionals, as well as line managers, and even as employees. We're not very happy. It's not our favorite cup of tea. So we're going to have a Q&A at the end. And I highly recommend that you, in the Q&A or in the chat, you just write me the question. Whenever you have a question on your mind, and then I'll answer the questions first come, first served. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so can you see the screen now? If you just can give me the thumbs up or just a small note. Okay. Great. Thank you, Ayman. Thank you, Nofel. Thank you. Okay, so HR is a bit a topic that is a kind of people say it a bit boring, and at the end I'm going to tell you our, in my opinion, of course, my personal opinion about what is actually our title. Just wanted to know how many of our attendees today are in the field of human resources? If you can raise your hand, that would be great. Okay. Anyone else? Well, I mean, it's a good chunk of people. So we're going to have quite a nice journey today. So let's start the slides. We're going to talk about strategic performance management. So the things that we want to talk about, I'm not going to stick to the slides, actually. I want to have more of an open discussion with you, and this is how we learn. I mean, this is in Morgan, this is how we do conduct our session. It's not about reading the slides or sharing the slides as much as the interaction and the discussion, because this is where we all learn, including the instructors. So the general topics that are going to be included is the general understanding of the employee performance management system, the concept. I mean, why are we doing this and what are we actually measuring? Career classification of HR paths, stages of performance evaluation, SMART goal settings, which I'm sure that you all know, or most of you, the competency framework, which is very critical, and this is now considered as the core, the heart of HR. I mean, everything is now built around capabilities and competencies rather than years of experience or certification. What is a competency matrix? What is a competency framework? And how do we measure and assess competencies? And how we conduct a performance evaluation interviews and the meeting itself, because one of the things that we tend not to like is the meeting. Either you're a boss or you're an employee. So before we move forward, does anyone have a question or anything that he or she was expecting to cover more? You can write your comments. If not, then I'll proceed. Okay. So, okay, I have a comment here. Okay, Mohammed, thank you so much. Rule of thumb, not in HR, in personal life. What can be measured can be managed. It's not about performance. It's not about productivity. It's even in our personal life. How can I know if my children in school are doing well or not? Again, by measuring. And how do I measure that? The grades report, which is something that is not pleasant usually. How do I know if I'm speeding? If I'm driving the car at 100%, at 100 kilometers per hour, is it, am I driving fast or slow? I need to see the speedometer. So what can be measured can be managed. So the fact that not only in performance management, but in HR in general, and in our life on a personal level, you can't manage your I don't know, your budget, your funds, your investment, unless you are able to measure it. You cannot see your speed unless you measure it. But the tricky part here is not about measuring alone. Today, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. If I tell you that I'm driving at 80 kilometers per hour, my question to you, am I driving slow or fast? You can write down, in the chat. Am I driving? Okay, I have Naveen saying related to rules. Can you be Exactly, depends where you drive, Manimaran and Nofel. Hamad Asif, based on requirements. Exactly. So the fact that I measure, it's irrelevant. It doesn't say anything. If I'm telling you I'm driving at 80 kilometers per hour, it doesn't say anything. But if I'm driving within the city boundaries, then I'm driving fast because the speed limit is probably around 60. And if I'm driving on a highway or on a freeway, then I'm driving really slow, and they're both dangerous. So not only I have to measure my performance, but I need also to benchmark it against something. And this something is the expectations. And in any performance management system, you measure two things. Regardless of the, all these fussy terminologies that HR would love to come up with every year, you measure two things. You measure behavior and you measure results. Behavior, you measure the person itself, the competencies, and you measure results, which are the business-related results. People call it objectives, targets, whatever you want to call it. So any performance management system in the world is measuring two things, regardless of what they call it. Okay, so I want you to think. When we talk about performance management, it's basically activities which ensures that goals are consistently met in an effective and an efficient manner. But performance can focus on the performance of the organization, a department, an employee, or even processes to build a product or a service. So when we talk about performance management, we talk about several layers, several segments, and it is cascaded down, and we're going to see it later this. Entities, yes, Naveen, entities. Okay, so these are the core functions of HR. When I say core, I'm not talking about core functions in your organization, for example, like operations, sales, marketing. I'm talking about the core components of the HR. And to be able to start building the HR, you need to have the infrastructure. You need to have an organization chart. You need to have a job classification. You have to have job descriptions. You have to have grading structure, competency framework, comp and ben, and career path. Because based on these things, you will be able to create a performance evaluation system that does relate to the business. So in these terminologies or these areas or these functions, do you have any questions? I know that we're going to have a Q&A at the end, but on a quick note, any of these terminology is a bit unclear. So if I ask you, what is job classification? Can someone tell me what is job classification? Anyone? Don't worry. No, not description, Fadia. It's what is job classification is classifying. It's called, and some companies they call it, or in some areas they call it job families. So the job families, so the HR is a job family. The finance is a job family. So when you classify these jobs, this is what we call job classification. Arnold, actually measuring the relative worth of jobs is job evaluation, so it's a bit different. And yes, in group of job functions that involve work in the same general occupation. That's an excellent thing. What about career path? Career path is basically the map that leads from the most junior position to the most senior position in either a certain function, that like HR or finance, or maybe on an organization level where you can start as salesperson and you end up as the general manager, hopefully. Yes, yes, and thank you very much. And Mariam, great answer. Roadmap of career development. Well, I mean, this is the roadmap for succession planning, which we are going to discuss now. Exactly, Enofel, thank you. So, my question is, why performance management relations to other human resources functions is very crucial? I have two people raising their hands. I'm not sure, I can't see who is raising the hands. Sorry. Let me try to see. Yeah, Muhammad and Nofel. If you have questions, you can type it, please. Okay. So, performance management, what is the outcome of a performance management? It tells you if this employee is meeting the expectations, is below the expectations, or exceeding the expectations. Great. So what the outcome of this in relation to learning and development? Well, it's very simple. If you evaluate Ayman Nadim's performance properly on the two areas that are very specific, which are behavior and results, then at this point you will be able to benchmark against what? Against a set of objectives that are SMART, and we're going to talk about it. And I have one piece of paper that tells me what is the relationship and how can I review and compare Ayman performance based on what? What do you think? Based on what? Based on duties and responsibilities in the job description. This is your benchmark. Remember when we talked about how what can be measured can be managed, so you need a benchmark, and this is your piece of paper that says, okay, Ayman delivered all his responsibility. He was on top of things. So either I want to close the gap in L&D, or Ayman is excellent, so I look at succession planning. So I have, let's see who's the last one who put Ahmed, for example, the last one who commented. So Ahmed is excellent. He should be the HR director in 3 years. So we're talking about succession. So instead, the learning and development now starts pushing people for career development, which is linked to the career path. But what is the relation? The relationship is that based on my analysis and my performance appraisal, based on the competency framework required for the HR director, I believe that Ahmed is a potential HR director. He's now an HR manager. Great. So now we understand learning now, succession, career development. So anyone can tell me what is the relationship between performance management and talent acquisition? It's a bit long way, but maybe you can do it, hopefully. Okay, if we're hiring the right candidate, internally and externally, Sandy. So, talent acquisition or recruitment. So, because I decided that Ahmed is excellent and he's going to be promoted to a senior HR manager, instead of recruiting an HR manager, a senior HR manager, I'm recruiting Ahmed's replacement because his position is vacant. Based on what? Based on the evaluation, based on succession planning, based on the job description, and the quality of the talent that I'm looking for from a recruitment perspective. Type workforce management. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. The workforce management is basically managing your talent from the moment you start looking at how many, what is the talent that we need in the organization until they leave at the end of their life cycle in the organization. So how people see performance. I know that either if you're an HR or you're an employee, you would see this happening. It's simple. It's a simple process, just filling out the form and handing it over, isn't it? What happens next? I don't know. Something important, but it's just for filling the form and nothing happens. It didn't give me any training, unlike my previous work. It looks good on paper, but in fact, something else. A task that leads to subjects I don't want to discuss with some people, like salary increase, promotion, transfer. It's a good idea, but it takes a lot of time, especially if we want to do it properly. These are not examples. These are words that have, or comments that have been given to me personally throughout my career. And the problem with performance management is that people don't like to do it. Believe it or not, if you're a manager, if you're an employee, it's a burden. Why it is a burden? Why do you think? Because I have one word for you that can transfer, and this is not theoretical, by the way, yani, what I'm trying to discuss with you, and instead of, you know, we said Q&A at the end, but I love to have your input on this. I have one word for this, but what do you think makes the performance management meetings and process, regardless of the paperwork, of course, you just put it on the side, because now most of the systems are automating the performance management. But why it is so heavy on our hearts? It's a burden. In your opinion, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just discussing with you. Okay, Naveen says judgment. Yes, true. Expectations. Operation, things, time consuming. Okay. Favoritism, great. Which is being biased. It is done in its right purpose in Lebanon. I'm not sure. Do you mean, is it done like that, or you wish it's done like that? Yes, Andy. Some employees don't cooperate. They don't like to be told what to do. Judgment that has results. Sorry, it's not done. Okay, well, I mean, it's not in Lebanon only. Don't worry, I've been working all over Middle East and Asia, and it's not only Lebanon. It's everywhere, my dear. Okay. Performance management is discussing positive and gray areas, and generally we are not ready to listen to what we lack. Okay. Favoritism, Malik says. But I have a question for you. If I tell you one word, and again, I'm not enforcing anything, it's just my opinion. I think probably 50 to 60%, or even more, in my opinion, all these, you know, all these pain, it's because of one word, which is surprise. It is heavy. It is a burden. It's something that we don't look for because it is usually a surprise. Why do I say surprise? Because if you give, let's say Yazin is my boss. Yazin is the last person who commented. He says corruption, of course, it's part of it. But if Yazin is my boss and he gave me my give me my objectives at the beginning of the year, and he waited 11 months to come and sit with me again. it's all about assumptions. Yazin will be very concerned. What will I say? What will I demand? How do I see myself? Me as Ayman, I'll have a 1,000 question mark. What Mazen thinks about performance? Will he give me a raise? Am I going to be promoted? Is it going to be a nice meeting? Is he going to be aggressive? The magic word surprise is, and I think Naveen just said a very nice word. It said it has to be done periodically. I know, periodically, really, Ayman, do you really think we're going to do it quarterly, 3 times, 4 times a year? No. But at least, if you're the HR manager, if you're the line manager, if you are an employee, have a cooler talk. Water cooler talk. You know what's water cooler talk? You stand beside your the water cooler talk and have a small chat with your employee or your manager. Knock the door, bring a coffee and sit and talk. It doesn't have to be a formal feedback session. It would be great if you do it quarterly. If not, please sit every 4-6 months, sit together, see where do you stand. And if you have these informal talks and meetings, where do we stand? Your manager cannot be surprised at the end of 11 months that you had problems that you did not be able to solve. And the last thing that you want to do is your manager have high expectations without communicating what's happening. So the whole fuzz about performance management can be really downsized big time if you communicate. Communicate, it's the magic word. Minimize surprises, and I promise you in December or in Jan, when you are conducting your meetings, your performance evaluation meeting with your employees, or you as doing it with your manager, it's just a regular meeting like the last 6 or 7 meetings that you have done, where you had the topics and you started discussing each one and the way forward. So it is painful, yes, but why is it painful? We need to look at the root cause analysis. Why is it painful? Is it because it's a hideous process? No, it's actually a very good process. The outcome is an input for a lot of things that are within the employee engagement concept. You don't want satisfied employees, you want engaged. And what is the difference between employee who's engaged and employee who's satisfied? What is satisfied employee and engaged employee? What is the difference? The difference is that, and it is theoretical, of course, I can give you a definition, but I'm going to tell you the difference between a happy employee, a satisfied employee who has, I don't know, 100 at $20,000, $30,000 a month salary, and a big office, a nice company car, flexible working hours, increments, an office with a view. But if someone else gives him an increment, he will go. An engaged employee, not only he will not go, he will be considering this company as his part, as a part of this company. It is his own or her own company. And he's the guy or the lady who would be finishing, I don't know, a long meeting in the meeting room, and they all go out and he comes back to close the light because they forgot to close the light and the screen. This is what you need to have. And performance management, if it's transparent, if it's done 80% properly, you have engaged employees, because the 4 pillars of engaged employees, which are a big topic in SHRM, is confidence and trust in leaders, career development and job satisfaction, communication, transparent and regular communication, and reward and recognition. And they are your ambassadors. They can make your company an employer of choice. So performance management, without going further, I need to go a little bit faster. It is not a bad process. It is not something boring. It might consume some time, but the end result is amazing. So we plan and implement, we monitor, we evaluate people, and we reward people. So this is basically the cycle of performance management. So what do we plan? So I've put the entire performance management cycle. It is happening usually, it really depends on each company. Some company, they do it with their fiscal year, which sometimes it ends in end of June, or sometimes it ends in December. It's related, could be the fiscal year for the company. And it has to be done according to the overall strategic plan for the business. So I can't not cascade down the fact that my objectives as an organization is to automate 30 or 40% of my services, and then my objectives are totally something different. So it is very important to understand the business. And at that point, you set the goals, okay, with the manager and supervisor. And each employee's goals should contribute to achieving one or more of the organization goals. And we're going to talk about cascading now the objectives. And we have the employee development plan, EDP, or they call it IDP, individual development plan, or they call it PDP, personal development plan. It doesn't matter. This is the real outcome of the performance management. When you you put the objectives, you have a gap, and the gaps, by the way, there are two types of gaps. You have a negative gap, which is competencies or performance is below the expectations, or you have a positive gap. What is this nonsense, Ayman? There's nothing called positive gap. No, there is something called positive gap. What could be, in your opinion, the word positive gap means? Yes, and in overperformance, can you tweak a little bit the wording? So like Naveen said, I exceed the performance of an HR supervisor. Exactly, Dalia. Performing above your level, which means what? Succession. Thank you. Lakshmi says overperformance and underpaid. No, the positive gap is basically I'm overperforming my position, but I have still a small gap to cover, or a certain gap to cover to be able to promote. Could be leadership, could be project management, could be whatever, really depending on the situation. So actually, I'm overqualified. I'm going to take again, thank you, Randa, for your contribution. And it's potentially, Ahmed, correct. And I've put in the IDP or the PDP or EDP, the plan, and it's related to the succession, which is the first pillar of employee engagement. Although I'm talking about performance management, but the holy grail, the optimum prize, the star of HR, you would be the star of the whole organization if you achieve employee engagement in your organization, because this is where you can sit back and relax, which usually is very difficult when you're in HR. Okay, what about monitoring? It will not work effectively if it's only regarded as an once or twice a year process. Continuous process, communication, regular performance reviews, monthly, quarterly, in the cafeteria and in a hangout outside. I don't mind. I mean, not me, I don't mind. I mean, I sometimes give feedback when we go out for dinner with my team. And I open a discussion and I understand and I listen. And trust me, I've done my evaluation, the evaluation of my team a month ago. It was so smooth. We meet on a regular basis, and it's a department meeting, and we talk about the objectives and the plan, and for everyone. So if someone has a certain objective to reduce the turnover, so we just sit as a team and discuss it. It's transparent, and at the end of the day, wallah, in some sessions we finished in I don't know, 10-15 minutes, a whole year. And we both, me and my team, I'm gonna say 90%, we were smiling at the end. We're happy with the meeting. So what I'm trying to tell you is not theoretical. In fact, maybe if you I don't know, ask Morgan or go for a reference on my profile, I don't do theoretical. The last thing I want to do with you is to go and read the slides. So this is maybe because this is why maybe I'm a bit ahead of the slides. So we'll talk about periodic meetings. To do what? What has been accomplished to date? How the employee performance has been to date? If the goals are on track for completion, if there are any potential issues, if any support is needed, if goal needs revising. Track progress. But you know what? It's not about tracking only. It's because you might, as a manager, change your priorities because of the business. I'm sure that if not all of you, but most of us, you sometimes had a meeting where the big boss said, drop everything now, we need to focus on this, we need to focus on that. Forget about producing this, let's focus on finalizing the salary survey. We need to have ASAP, leave everything, and let's go for the ERP implementation. This changes the priorities. So you need to be agile, and you can't be agile without communicating. Okay. So the review phase typically concludes with a meeting where employee and supervisor managers discuss the goal, progression and completion, performance results, any performance issues, and compensation increase and advancement opportunity. Rewards, one of the main components of employee engagement, reward and recognition. Money is nice. We all work for money at the end of the day. Yani, we can sound very, have a halo effect. You know what is halo effect? That we're kind of an angel and we do that because we like it. Yeah, we do that because we like it, hopefully. But at the end of the day, we work for money. So you need to recognize your people. And the only way to recognize the overperformance or high flyers or high potentials, as you mentioned, and some of you have mentioned in their chats, potential is you need to recognize them. You can't recognize them without measuring their performance. You can't be, yeah, there is also the well-being programs, Ahmed, and that's also a whole section in SHRP, in SCP and CP. So well-being is a big part now in HR. So yeah, definitely. So the reward, it doesn't have to be financial. You can have a public or a personal recognition. You can have, although that I have something personal against the word, you know, when they put a picture and they say employee of the month in one of the fast food chains, we usually see it a lot. And I'm personally against it because the message is actually the complete opposite of what you intend to do or what we intend to do. But recognize people. I used to work with British Petroleum. And when I used to work there, you used to get us vouchers. We used to give us a very nice set of pens called, you know, the brand called Cross. and it had the logo of BP, and it wasn't expensive, but it was most of the people who got this as an appreciation and recognition for their performance. They used to put this, you know, in the pocket in their shirts, and they walk proudly, you know, saying, "Look, I'm an overachieving." So it doesn't have to be always money. It is nice, but you need to reward people. If you start rewarding people because you think they've done a good job, you just open a door that you can't close. Unless you have a solid reason why Ayman has taken this, I don't know, Carrefour voucher or Rolex watch or a 1 month bonus, and it's clear and it's transparent, then it's the door to hell, excuse my French. So the performance tells you how to reward. What about goals? I want you to think for a second. I'm not going to talk. I want you to think. I don't want you to answer. I'm going to ask you, today we're mid-Feb. So we started the year 6 weeks ago. My question, I want you to think, do you know the objectives of your organization for 2022 or not? Do you know what, if you're working in sales, if you're working in HR, do you know your department goals? Think about it. Did the manager sit with you, not you as an individual, at least as a team, and told you this year we have these objectives? Are your goals well defined? Do you know your goals? Okay. Now, all the first 3 questions are extremely important. First 3 questions are extremely important. And if you have doubts in any of them, then you might have an issue. Not you as an individual, as an organization. Okay. We said that the first 3 are extremely important. But there is a saying that says, an objective or a goal without a plan is just a wish. So honestly, even if you know all the 3 answers for the first 3 questions, and you don't know the answer for the 4th one, then probably it's going to be just a wish. And what is the 4th question? How to achieve these goals. So I know that I have to go from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. So I know the goal, it's very clear, it's measurable, smart objective, as they say. But do I know how I'm going to do that? Am I going to take a plane? Is it going to be by train? Do they have even trains there? Taxi. I'm going to rent a car. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to get an Uber or a cab. If you don't have a plan, you have only wishes. You're fluctuating. You're reacting. You don't have a plan. So even if you know the first 3 answers for the first 3 questions, how to achieve them? Because this will determine whether you will be able to achieve these goals or not. So SMART goals: specific, measurable. The goal shall express a clear vision of and answers questions. For example, who are the participants in the achievement? Who, what, where? Measurable. What is the indicator of success and achievement of the goal? I remember someone in the chat wrote KPIs, key performance indicators. And now one of the things that is something very important for us as HR professionals what we call HR analytics or matrix, figures, percentages, ratios. No more judgmental. You need to have something solid. So I need to measure these goals. They must be relevant, achievable, and time-bound. It has a time frame. Now, this is the most important part. Remember when I asked you, what is your organization's strategic objective for 2022? It has to be cascaded down. Okay, so again, it's outside this, the slides. And hopefully Morgan will not kill me. The issue with HR, you know, we most of the time complain that we don't get the right support from top management. We don't, line managers really don't understand what we do. And apologies for if there are any line managers here. But you know what? It's not their fault. It is ours. Again, it's my opinion. And why it is ours? Because we talk Chinese. Literally, we talk Chinese. If you go to the general manager or the CEO and tell him, we've developed a very good employee engagement program. We've reviewed all the job descriptions and now they are updated. We have the new retention initiatives to retain high performance, or our new performance management system highlight the top performance and high potentials. Chinese. Probably us as a group, we can, you know, we can understand. But you know what will they say? They say, okay, excellent job. They know that you're doing something good. Okay, but they have no clue what you're doing. Now, you continue working in a silo. You're never asked to come to senior management teams. You're not asked to, although that it is extremely important that you exist as a function, but you're never invited in and to participate in setting the strategic objectives of the organization. You're an implementer. Why? We talk Chinese. Now let me transfer this to English or Arabic. You sat with the CEO and they need numbers, Spiro. Yes, you're right. You sat with the CEO in a meeting and he said that this year our objective is to penetrate and introduce our products in the Saudi market, or increase our sales by 10%. My question for you, is there anything here that's even slightly or remotely close to HR? Increasing the sales by 10%, expanding in the Saudi market. Zero, Naveen, right? Naveen said no. Thank you, Naveen, for participating, and everyone, thank you, Aruba, for participating. I really appreciate it. I hope I'm not that, it gives me hope that I'm not that boring. So we need to expand in the Saudi market. So you took this and you ran and you started developing your HR strategy. You started looking at the labor cost in Saudi Arabia. You started looking at the caliber and hiring in Saudi Arabia. You started looking at the cost of living. You looked at the succession plan, who can be sent to Saudi Arabia, what kind of people do we need to hire, who can be transferred, what is the cost, what are the standard for the salary. You conduct a salary survey, you know who are the competitors, and you come back and you say to the CEO or the general management or the executive team, by the way, we will need to hire 10 people in sales. The operations, we can recruit one person, but we will send 2 people, and these are the chance for them. They are high potential, and there was no opportunity. This is an opportunity. We need to provide husband the family visa, because the Saudi labor law says 1, 2, 3. This is their pay structure. This is our cost. Mobilization will cost like that. Suddenly, you talk figures. Suddenly, wow, the HR is actually a business partner. This is how we're going to be invited. This is the pyramid. I'm not going to talk a lot about the pyramid. It is the concept. It is the concept, because you need to translate what we talk, which is challenging, because we deal with humans, we deal with behavior, but trust me, every single thing can be quantified and converted to money. I'll give you a very small example. You go to the line manager and says, okay, we have a high attrition rate. There is a difference between attrition rate and turnover. Does anyone know what is the difference? Because this is, again, one of the topics in firm. Do you know what is the difference between attrition and turnover? Okay, Sandy says no. Okay, so the turnover is the number of employees leaving the organization in a certain period of time, divided on the average number of employees in general. So it could be monthly, it could be quarter, semi, or a yearly. So this is the turnover. Forced leaving, Yaniveen, is actually the remaining of the turnover, because the attrition rate is the voluntary resignation or voluntary separation. And when people talk about, you know, an HR person, when you ask him, do you have high turnover? He says, no, it's not the turnover, it's the attrition rate. The attrition rate are the people who resigned voluntary or from our organization that I wanted to keep, because in all our jobs, in our organization, we had people who resigned and we said, alhamdulillah, they left on their own. So it is even part of the attrition that you need to care about. So you come and say, even the attrition, they say, okay, if anyone resigns, we can replace. And I tell him, do you know how much does it cost to replace Ayman Nadim or Niveen or Muhammad Asif? He has let's say Niveen has 2 months notice period. The performance that I'm going to get during these 2 months, I'm still paying Niveen, I don't know, let's say 30,000 dirhams a month, but for 100% performance. But from the day she resigns, it's going to go down probably by end of the 2 months, I'll have like 20-30% performance. So I'm actually paying over 50,000. The real cost of Niveen until she leaves is increasing on daily basis. Now I'm going to recruit someone. So Niveen has been a senior person, an HR person, okay, and she's been qualified. I lost her, unfortunately. So I'm going to hire someone. I'm going to get a headhunter or a recruitment agency. So they'll get 1 month. Let's assume 30,000. And how long does it take to get someone? By the time I decide and I get the approval of management, it will be 2 weeks to assign a headhunter. He will take another 2 weeks to get me a short list. That's a month. And then I'll start the first initial round of interviews. And if I'm lucky, I'm going to select, they present 5, I'm going to select 2 or 3 shortlisted. And then I'm going to start negotiating. That's at least 6 to 8 weeks. I'm without an HR manager. Naveen left. And I'm so lucky the person that I have chosen has accepted the offer. Let's say, who's the last one who commented? Kabir. Naveen again. Yes, Naveen, this is succession plan if I had a success. Okay, so I'm telling you that the cost, because you know they always, this is the typical answer. There's so many people in the market, you can get someone, but they don't realize the cost. So I was lucky that the replacement of Naveen was Kabir. He accepted the offer, but Kabir is also working in a company that will require 2 months notice period. So I stayed for 2 months until now. Since Naveen resigned, I've been 4 months, 2 months with a poor performance, 2 months without an HR manager. And then I was lucky that Kabir kept his word and he joined. Kabir joined at a package of 40,000. My question for you, my dear group, dear team, will Kabir perform at 100% from day one? Great. So actually I'm paying 40,000 for the first month, probably 20 to 30%. The month after, probably at 50. It will take Kabir to be up and running probably 4 to 5 months. So actually, the cost of Kabir probably at the beginning of the month, probably first month would be around 70,000. You do the math. You go to the GM and tell him, this was the cost to replace Naveen. Every single thing in HR can be converted. You just need to think outside the box. Okay. So CSmarter, that's the new thing. ER says for evaluate and review, the last two. And lately, the C comes for challenging. So they say now, if you want to put an objective, you need to put a CSmarter objective. So challenging, specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant, time-bound. And you need to evaluate this objective and review it. And sometimes the R stands for evaluate, re-evaluate. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so do you believe in new blood concepts? Well, I mean, it's a very, very general question, Fahad. But I'm sure that we can discuss it. Just put it in the Q&A section so we can make sure that we tackle this point at the end of the session, okay? Great. Okay, so we're going to talk now about competencies. Has any one of you worked with competencies before? Okay, Yazan did. Nofel and Saad, great. Fadia. So it means that Saad, Fadia, and Nofel will, and Sandy, will give me 2 minutes break, and Randa, and they can explain. Bravo, Nofel, knowledge, skill, and abilities. Okay, some say abilities, another school says attitude, so it really depends, but it is correct. So competencies, this is the second part that we measure. We measure objectives, which we call it results in general. And competencies are the behavior, are the character of the person. And problem is that when you develop your job profile, job description, and you put the competency, please do not make this the usual mistake that we all did, is that we we think immediately, we link this to Ayman Nadim, we link this to Suad, we link this to Hussam. It's not about the person, it's about what level, what kind of competencies do we need in this position to be able to perform. So problem is when you sit with line manager to do a job analysis for the sake of job description, for the sake of job evaluation, for the sake of grading structure and comp and ben, and then performance and then succession, you know, problem and the beauty in the same time of HR is they're all linked together. And that you sit and you find the line manager says that an accountant, with all my respect, of course, to all accountants, they need to be creative. Okay. Competency, they have levels, let's say 3 levels, beginner, intermediate, or an advanced, for the sake of simplicity, this example. And okay, what level do you want, Nofel, for your the accountant? I want it advanced. Okay. When I sit with him and I say, okay, I'll buy it from you. I'll take it. I'm not going to discuss it. I just want you to show me where do you need advanced level or high proficiency in creativity, advanced level in creativity in the duties and responsibilities. And then he looks and says, okay, well, maybe medium. I said, where is medium? Why not in beginner? It's not something bad. Line managers tend to inflate these positions, write a lot of things, and at the end of the day, it backfires on the employees. They think that this relates to money. So the more they ask for, let's say, an office boy who wants with a PhD or a messenger with a PhD, they're not doing him a favor. This guy's going to be thrown out. And if you're lucky to find a messenger with a PhD to recruit, how much you're going to pay him and how long he's going to stay there. And seriously, I mean, you need to measure that and manage it, manage the expectations. So when we talk about competencies, you need to manage the competencies. And the competencies, we have 3 types: core, leadership, and technical. Okay, so what is a core competency? A core competency is driven from the vision, mission of the organization, the ethics, the way we do business, our values. So if you are, I don't know, an IT or a software development company, could be creativity, could be innovation, could be, no, programmers don't communicate. But if you're a customer service or you're providing a service in the hotelery business or the, what they call it, hospitality sector, customer oriented. And this customer, what's the difference between core leadership and technical? The core is applied from the most junior position, from the guy in the hotel who opens the door for you at the entrance till the GM of the hotel. All they are customer oriented. All the positions need to be customer oriented. Different levels, yes, advanced, intermediate, beginner, but this competency of customer service or being customer oriented or creativity or innovation or lead by example, whatever you want to call it, applies for all positions. Leadership is very self-explanatory. It's only for positions that are on a supervisory level. Technical, trust me, the technical competencies are difficult to come up with, and they're job related. So the technical competencies for the HR job family based on the job classification is different than the technical competencies required for the treasury function. different than sales operations, so on and so forth. So we have different type of competencies. Usually 90% of the organization, unless they are, it really depends on level of maturity, not only in HR, but as an organization itself. They use the core and leadership, and maybe very few I saw them using the technical competencies and evaluation. Because technical competencies comes from it comes from the job itself. Okay. So what is the technical competency? It's the ability to perform specific and well-known activities within the profession in a consistent manner and over time. It is the skill and knowledge required to do a job. And the key word here is specific job. So it is the key skill and knowledge required to do the HR officer job, the customer service agent job, the receptionist job. So the type of technical competencies per job is different. Well, I mean, if you don't have it right now, I highly advise that you you stick to the core and leadership. Okay. We come here to, the job families and job classification. So Yazin says, tell me about them. I had to do more than 300 technical competencies for the Ministry of Transport and KSA. Yes, Yazin. You tell me about it. We can sit and have a long chat over a cup of coffee on technical competencies. You know, the problem is not to extract them. The problems are the meetings to extract them from the line managers. Am I right? Or you had a different suffering? Okay, but you still had to go for the meetings, right? It's online meetings anyway. Okay, thank you, Yazin, for your contribution. So again, job classification, job families. At job families, the HR department, you have a sub-family, which is talent acquisition, employee relation, L&D, learning and development. And you have the positions that could be under talent acquisition, the recruitment. Sorry, this is a typo. It's one title, recruitment specialist and recruitment officer. Employee relations, you could have an employee relations supervisor, all the positions that under the sub-families in HR. So this is job classification. Technical competence, just a sample. Performance management. This is what we call a matrix. For example, in HR, you have recruitment, comp and ben, L&D, talent management, employee relations, right? Let's say these are your subfamilies. And you have these technical competencies, HR policies and procedures. Do you need them in recruitment? No. You need them in comp and ben, definitely. L&D, no. Talent management, maybe. Employee relations, yes. Career management, you need it in L&D and maybe in talent management, for example. So this is your matrix. You might have a set of HR technical competencies and you have the subfamilies where you distribute this across the subfamilies or subfunctions. So these are the level, proficiency level. This is only an example. I'm not going to go through all this, but I'm going to give you an example. This, of course, demonstrates 3 levels. Okay, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Some companies, they have 4 levels. And in my opinion, the best practice is to have 5 levels of competencies. Sandy, no, it's just an example. It doesn't say that it really depends. I mean, HR policies and procedure, the person in charge of writing it, not implementing. So writing it and being the owner but we all need to know the HR policies and procedure. It's the technical competency of writing and developing policies. Is it clear now, Sandy? Okay, great, thank you. Like, why am I showing this? This is a lot of writing. I wanted to show you how we are moving from beginner to intermediate to advanced. It's just an example. I did not even mention the name of a competency. So look at this. A beginner level, it shows efficiency, but sometimes it needs guidance. Look at the intermediate at the first point. Shows efficiency independently now and has the ability to provide guidance. Advanced level, demonstrate efficiency with confidence and is seen as a role model and reference for other employees. Now, you don't apply this description to a person. It is a position. Let's talk about, I don't know, a junior HR officer. Let's take, for example, I don't know, quality, excellence in execution, for example, or performance management. So it shows efficiency as an HR officer, but sometimes it needs guidance. This is the level of competency. Requires a basic understanding or knowledge of tools, concept, techniques, knowledge, and processes. Able to apply tools, concept, technologies, knowledge, and process independently with occasional guidance, may be assigned function roles and responsibilities across unit, task, and force. Intermediate is the same, advanced is the same. These are the different proficiency level. And it has to be tailored to the, but it's not the grading system, that's different. And I'll explain to you, just please, again, I'm reminding you, I don't see any questions in the Q&A section. If you have questions that were not answered, please write it down and I'll answer it first in, first served. So this is the core of the, now you Google Microsoft, a lot of the, I don't know, 500 Fortune companies, they don't hire now based on number of experience, number of years of experience. Not because you're graduated from a business administration. They are looking for capabilities. They're looking for specific competencies. They are no longer looking for, look at Apple. I'm not sure if all of you have an Apple store where you reside. I mean, we're definitely from different countries. But if you have an Apple store and if you go to Apple store, you will see the people who are working on the what they call a Genius Bar for the technical support, maintenance, and you will see the salespeople. You will see the veiled lady. You will see a lady, a young lady with the jeans. You will see a guy with a beard. You will see a guy with tattoos. You will see someone with a what they call it, an earring. We'll see someone who's 45 years old. You will see someone who's 18 years old. They have zero in common. If they stand in front of you like that and align like criminals, zero. Two things are only the common things. One is their t-shirt, the dark blue t-shirt with an Apple logo. Second are the competencies. They all talk the same language. They all have the same competencies. They have the same capabilities. This is why I'm telling you competency is not only important in performance appraisal, but it is also important in everything in HR. So required competencies, minor actual competencies, this is the individual gap. SMART objective sets actual achievements of the objectives based on KPIs, or sometimes they call it KRIs, key results indicators. So you have the personal, the business, the performance evaluation, career management, succession planning, L&D, and individual development, the IDPs, which is performance management. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes, 5 minutes. It's not a break, actually. I don't want you to leave, but if someone wants to have a chit chat on something, a topic, very quickly on over 5 minutes, 4 minutes actually, so I can give you a rest, you know, from following on the topic. So, any questions? How's the session so far? Good, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you, Azan. It's thank you so much. Thank you, Latif. Roba. Well, I mean, probably because I worked with my own hands, that I feel the pain, your pain, and it's less theoretical, and probably this is what we try to do always in Morgan, is that I mean, if it's about slides, I would give you happily the slides, and you just read it and that's it. But again, the interaction is very important, and trust me, I learn as much as anyone in these sessions, and I'm trying to keep it realistic. Well, I mean, Sandy, I'm not sure if I can do that. You need to talk to Morgan. Okay, and if someone will remember at the end of the session to ask me the question about the real title of HR, I'll say it. If you don't remember, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to reveal it. And again, that's my opinion. I'm not a magician, but I've been working for 25 years in HR. So, well, I mean, you have to go to talk about to Sandy. You need to talk to Morgan. Okay, so happy to get this vibe, positive vibe. So I've been too technical. No, let's talk a little bit, you know, less complicated. How do I conduct a performance appraisal? Very small points that are a deal breaker. Please do not do appraisal at the last minute. Prepare for evaluation. Remember what happened throughout the appraisal period, please. Now, this section is going to be, you know, a bit nice. I mean, lighter than the one less technical. As I want to tell you something. HR is a difficult job. And it's not about difficult job because we're dealing with people. Sales, they're dealing with people. Customer service, they deal with people. Business development, they deal with people. Probably IT, if they are software developers, they are sitting in a room and they're lucky not to deal with people. But anyway, I mean, the excuse of that we deal with people and this is very difficult. Yes, and this is what we call emotional intelligence yet. Okay. By the way, just for your own information, the word emotional intelligence is overrated. I'll explain to you, just put it in a Q&A and I'll explain to you the emotional intelligence whole workshop in 4 steps. And I hope Morgan will not kill me because they do provide this. So what is the problem with HR? Why it's so difficult? It is so difficult because you are managing or handling a future of someone. I don't want to sound very dramatic, but you need to be very objective. You need to be very fair. You need to be very transparent. If you under-evaluate people or over-evaluate, or you did not pay properly, or you sanctioned or implemented penalties on people if you do not give it's about family. Even when you recruit, there's a family behind this guy or this lady. So if you, I'm not trying to put a lot on our shoulder, we already have, but our job is very sensitive. We can, if we don't do it properly, we affect families, not only individuals. And when you recruit someone, you need to make sure as much as possible, you can't guarantee 100%, but you do your job. So if it doesn't work out, it's not because you didn't read or you got someone and just for the sake of filling the job, and you really don't care about their career. It's people left their jobs to join you. They've taken a major step, a major decision. Do not undermine. So this is why I think our job is difficult, in my opinion. So don't undermine performance appraisal. Don't prepare at the last minute. Don't tell the guy, oh, listen, I have 10 minutes before the meeting. Let's come and conduct the meeting for the evaluation very quickly. What is the message are you giving him? That I don't care about your performance. I don't care for you to develop. It's 10 minutes. Seriously? Trust is an important component of the performance appraisal. One of the main pillars, if I show you a slide now from SHRM, SHRM, the second pillar, confidence and trust in leadership. How can you conduct a proper performance appraisal if your team does not trust you? And how can he trust you without communication? So trust is an important component. Trust is the conviction held by the employee that you genuinely want to help them. You're not punishing them. You're not judging them. They need to, even if you're harsh, because they know that you care about them. So they need to trust you before you say, I'm conducting job evaluation for my employees. Change the following statements to something specific. Ayman, let me see who the last person who wrote in the chat. Sandy, you're the victim today. So I'm your boss. And I'm telling you, Sandy, you're always late. You never meet your deadlines and you always exaggerate. This is a positive performance appraisal? This is even evaluation? Can Sandy tell me, Sandy, really, and write it to everyone, or anyone can contribute actually, how can we write this in a different way? Let me first give you the example and then we'll do the next one. So you're not angry from me, Sandy, okay, please. So you are always late. You were late for meetings twice last week, and once this week you arrived to work. So it is specific. We waited for you at the restaurant for a full half an hour before we ordered. I was worried something has happened to you. You never meet your deadlines. You missed 3 deadlines in the past month. List projects and dates. Is there something I should know about? You missed that proposal deadline on Friday, but when I spoke with you on Wednesday, you told me everything was on track and you would be ready. So these are some of the samples. Type, what are the mistakes that we do in performance evaluation? 3 slippery areas. Leniency and stringency. Yani means that either I'm very nice, I'm lenient, or I'm very firm. This is a tendency to rate candidates too harshly or being too easy on them. And this is why, as HR, we usually look at the curves for these to adjust. So, because in all companies, you have someone who's very strict and you have someone who's very, nice. We call it club managers, and this is also something that we will see in CHERM and the CP and SCP. Country club managers, we call them country club managers, who wants to make everyone happy. So this is why we do the curve. So if someone is overrating their employees, we drop them down a little bit. If someone is too firm, we push them up a little. What else? Halo horn effect. Okay. Yes, Ziad. Very nice. Look at Ziad. Ziad would be a nice guy doing with him the performance evaluation meeting. Or this is what you wish your boss would have done. Okay. Thanks, Ziad. It's very nice. So what is halo horn? You can see the picture. Halo horn, this is one of the slippery areas that everyone is nice. Everyone is decent. Okay, Dalia, this is a very good question. Do you believe in forced rating, Ayman? Can you please write down in Q&A, because that's a very important question. Thank you for asking it. And it's going to take some time to answer it, if you don't mind. Can you add it, please, Dalia, before you forget? And I will definitely forget. Okay, thank you. Yes, so the halo everyone is great, the horn everyone is evil and they want to hurt me. So that's the tendency to rate someone high on all factors. This is the halo or low because of a global impression. What else? Error of central tendency. I've seen this so much. I don't want headache, really. I'll keep everyone rated average or meeting expectations. And this is devastating to people who are overperforming. And people who are meeting expectations, because the one that are underperforming still being rated as meeting expectations. So error of central tendency. Is basically to give average marks to most candidates if you don't have clearly defined performance standards. Okay, so this is the formal, annual, and semi-annual, choosing what works for you. You have a probationary period. When a new employee is hired, 3 to 6 months, depending on the labor law and the company policy. And please, I have seen it so many times, and it happened with me so many times. I've passed the probation period. I don't get evaluated. I don't get a feedback. I just continue working. I told them, guys, did I pass the probation period? No one even talked to me. What am I supposed to be doing during the probation period? How am I going to be evaluated? So it is important. And Informal review, that's also something very good. And we have also the 360-degree performance review. You get a feedback from the whole group who's working with this candidate or this employee. Why we don't enjoy the performance appraisal? Because how it's measured is often vague or ambiguous. Criteria are not specifically related to the job. Sometimes feels like a test to write out forms. And of course, the issue of surprise. So what can we do to ensure that the process is professionally and meaningfully conducted? Give people time to prepare. Treat them respectfully. Set up the review meeting somewhere quiet. Keep staff engaged and motivated. Ensure that staff receive sufficient training resources. Ensure that staff have job position descriptions, all these things. Get the feedback. Communicate. Constructive feedback is always directed at the behavior rather than the person. The main problem, Ayman, you're lazy. Ayman, you cannot talk to people. You don't have the gift to talk to people. You cannot communicate. I'm attacking, I'm judging the person. You have to talk about a behavior. You don't talk about personality. When you are evaluating, you criticize and evaluate a behavior or an achievement, not a person. That's the main problem. You cannot say, let's see who's the last who wrote a chat. So Ziad, you're very aggressive with clients. You're an aggressive person. No, you need to talk about behavior. When Ziad, please, we have an issue when clients are complaining. You need to have a better control on temper. Please, you need to use your words more cautiously. You have a certain aggressive behavior, not you're an aggressive person. Communication. We define communication as sharing the message. We can communicate in many ways, verbally, writing, artistic means like dance. You need to be understood. And this is something very nice. I like it. Active listening. When we say communication, most people tend to think about Ayman being able to communicate, or anyone is able to communicate. It's not about communication. It's not about talking. It's 50-50. It's a, there's something called the communication model, where you have the person, the message, the mean or the way, the recipient, and then the feedback. This is the communication model. And you need to stop hearing and start listening. And there's a big difference. You can hear the noise. I can hear the ambulance outside. But when someone talks, we need to listen. One of the things is also important, and it's not mentioned here, is about, and I'm the first one to do that, by the way, so I'm not saying that I'm doing an excellent job at this. Most of the time, people listen to reply, and they don't listen to understand. And there's a huge difference. And I'm sure that you understand what I'm saying. It is very important to listen to understand and not listen to reply, to be defensive. Make a decision to listen. Don't interrupt people. Keep your eyes focused. Carry a note or start a conversation file on your computer. Ask few questions. Good listening skills tend to be infectious. Ask one question at a time. In the meeting, ask one question at a time. Use simple words. Keep your questions brief. Your phrasing positive. You know, all these things. Non-verbal messages, body language, the way we stand, what we do with our hands, the sound of our voice. I can tell you good morning, how are you today? And I can tell you good morning. What is my tone, my gesture, the body language? Let me, aspects of nonverbal, the facial expression, smiling, eye contact, body posture, all these body language, the voice, make it, you know, I'm here to help. Calm, firm, caring, soothing tone. The speed and rhythm of your speech is important, so don't talk very, very quickly. Now, I'm going to ask you, please, before I end the session today, I mean, to end this presentation. I'm going to ask you, what do you see in the first picture on the left? And please answer to me in the chat, not to everyone. Or actually to everyone. It's okay. Aggression. Niveen said blame. Sandy said not wrong communication. What do you see? A manager, not a leader. Surprised person. So some people looked at the person who's pointing and some looked at the other person. Okay, interesting, Niveen. So what does this body language tell you? Fear, lack of communication, give bad vibes. Okay. So many different, a bully. Nice, Dalia. Okay. Don't you think maybe she is telling him, maybe this is the wife and this is the husband, so this is why he's scared. No, maybe, for example, you have been promoted. You have been promoted and the guy is, wow. Could it be positive in any way? This language, I mean, the body language? Just a question, I'm not saying it is. No, okay. A negative one, okay. Check the facial expression, okay. What about the second one, Eddie? Eddie, what do you think about the second one? Exhausted, disappointed. They're two different, completely stressed, confused. four different interpretations. Now we have exhausted, that's another one. Afraid, that's a new one. Regret, oh my God, I lost all in the cryptocurrency. Fear, negatively surprised, lost his self-confidence. Love it, Fadia. The moment I saw him, he's hungry. I love this one. Okay. That's very nice. What about the third one? The guy that is putting his hand on his finger, on his mouth. Thinking, Confused, to do or not to do. Yes, Sandy, what is yes? Yes, confused, or yes, what? Thinking also, okay. Quiet, quit or quiet, Hamad? Could be, where did I put my keys, for example? Did I send the email or not? It's a doubt, for example, Hassan, thank you. Or he's telling someone to shush, don't talk. Okay, what about, it is not a shush, huh? Why, Niveen? Why he's not telling someone, be quiet? Facial expression, okay. What about the last one, the one before the last? Late, just leaving, in a hurry, someone who is done, demotivated, it's time to leave. Niveen says it's neutral, so it doesn't say anything. He's just moving fast. Quit the job, Eddie. And Fatima would says, of course, running for the restaurant, opening for the delivery. Leaving with negativity, okay. What about the last one? Fadia. What about the last one? Late. He's late or others are late? So waiting for a taxi, waiting for someone. Oh, my Apple Watch is not charged. Still have the time for a meeting. You know why we're different in interpreting this culture, background, experience? Organized, I like it, Saad. Is punctual, Fadia. Checking his daily steps. Well, it doesn't go with the fact that he's hungry and he wants the food. Okay. It's interesting what you said. Okay, so please, during the meeting, do it in private, balanced, relevant, specific, documented, personal, in the right way. So a sample of a good feedback statement. Art, I noticed that you have a clear idea of your job responsibility. Keep up the good work. I appreciate you taking the initiative to order supplies. You have been ordering a large quantity of supplies lately. This goes against our policy. Had some complaints that work orders have been delayed. Why is that? So it's good. Stop spending so much time on the phone. What are these supplies doing here? Why can't you do anything right? So these are just sample of it. So I'm going to take your Q&A now. I'm going to answer the first one. Dalia, do you believe in forced rating and forcing people to the bell curve? Okay, I'm going to ask your help. Dalia, can you explain to others what is the forced rating or bell curve? Can you, do you have the, can you speak? I mean, are you mute or I'm giving you this, you can talk if you want.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Dalia, thank you.
Sure, thank you for taking my question. So basically, it's when you do the performance appraisal and after you consolidate all the ratings and then you do your analysis by department and then you look at by department, as you said, and then you find that the curve is not really like the bell shape. And you have some people, you know, majority are on the positive end or the lower end. and you need somehow to bring it to a bell curve, so you have like a normal distribution or a fair distribution as per, you know, the 80, 50, 30 or whatever rule. Where you have, you know, a minority in the low performing, majority in the middle, and minority again at the top. So most of the time you do tend to force the population or the results to fit the bell curve. So do you believe?
Okay, so thank you for the question, Adalia. I believe that we need to use this if our performance management system is not solid, is not bulletproof. If the line managers and the employees are not able to well define their objectives and measure it properly. Imagine, Adalia, a child using for the first time the bike, small bike, and please, with all due respect, of course, to line managers and employees, but when you are learning to ride a bicycle, you need, I'm not sure, these two small, support wheels, on the sides. This is, for me, is the bell curve or forced rating. Why do I need to do this? Forced rating tells the line managers you cannot have 50% of your employees exceeding performance. You have 10 to 15% maximum. You have 60 to 70% are within the normal range, within the middle, and probably 5 to 10% underperforming. Why am I limiting this? Because I'm questioning the capabilities, the objective set, the way it is measured, and the level of maturity of my systems. The more the systems and people are mature and the objectives are clear and the individual development plans are aligned with the strategic objective, the less I need the bell curve, really. Because it should be temp. If you continue using the bell curve consistently, it means that you can't trust the system.
Clear, thank you.
Clear? Okay. Okay, so this is answered. What is the difference between effective and efficient? Effective, it means that you do the job properly. Efficient means that you do it with the minimal resources and so on. So you can conduct, you can achieve the target, you can reach, for example, Dubai, Abu Dhabi with the car in 1 hour or 2 hours, and you use a rental, and you use, instead of renting, you use a company car, or you rent a Rolls Royce. So you pay 20,000 dirhams just to go to Abu Dhabi. So this is not efficient utilization of resources. So you've been effective, you achieved, but you were not efficient. Did I answer the question, Suad? Just write me the message. You're most welcome, sir. Most welcome. Okay. No worries, Fadia. It's been a pleasure. Okay, Naveen is... Okay, Naveen, what is the real title of HR? Okay, I'll tell it to you at the end of the session. You're most welcome, Fadia. Okay. The real title, okay. Real title is we're kind of glorified babysitters. We have to take care of employees, take care of managers, take care of stakeholders, government, and outside the organization. We have to educate them. about the systems. We have to make sure that they don't fight. So it's kind of a glorified babysitter role. Nofel, I hope you don't quit the job. And not a lot of people are happy when I say glorified babysitter. But actually, if you look at it in a funny way, yes, we are. So this is our title. So performance management system is part of being a glorified babysitter. Welcome to the session. Any other questions? All yours. What's your view about scrapping ratings from performance management system? So how do you want to do it, Dalia?
I don't know. It's just in general a question.
So
removing ratings completely.
And what do you put instead?
360 feedback.
Well, I mean, some multinational companies now have abolished the performance appraisal completely as a trend. So I can understand from where you're coming. This again, they have a very, very strong, I don't know, tools for communication, meetings, reviews all the time. So they don't need it anymore. It has to be compensated with other processes to replace the performance appraisal in general. 360 is again, it is one of the tools to evaluate people, and it's less subjective, of course, because you're taking the opinion of subordinates, employee, and manager and peers. So it is going, but it's not gonna evaluate the achieving the objectives like doing it one-to-one with the line managers. So yes, some few companies, not a lot, few companies abolished the whole performance appraisal process in the last few years, and they replaced it with communication and competency evaluation as an ongoing process. I'm not sure what is the exact process, but I'm not sure that we in our region, we are ready to do something like that. Hopefully, by time, the level of maturity will increase, and looking at performance management system as a tool for development rather of tool for evaluation and punishing people. That's the problem of what we have in general in our region. No worries. The 9-grade box in Ufal, yes. Okay, since I think we're done today, hopefully the session was nice. Wasn't too boring, hopefully, and I want to thank you so much for attending and contributing. I mean, this is how we do it in Morgan, so it's been a pleasure to have you on board. I'm gonna leave the session.
Thank you, Ayman. Ayman, before you leave, can you
I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna stay with you. Don't worry.
Okay.
Staying, but
sure.
I'm just, yani, I mean, we're done with the presentation. I'll stop the sharing, and happy to be with you today. Really, I mean, it's been a pleasure. So I'll let's go back to Swaleh, please.
No, thank you, Ayman. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Again, there's no dull moment whatsoever whenever you're presenting. I can stick along for the next 5 hours listening to your presentation.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Again, I'd like to thank the audience. Thank you for your time. And feel free, please, to reach out to us. Any suggestive topics that probably maybe you might be interested in Ayman hosting in the future, let us know. And if there's any opportunity, we're more than happy to do that and be able to provide, because it's HR is always evolving. I'm not an expert, but whatever we can be able to prepare on behalf of Morgan, would be more than happy to be able to provide to you. For those that have attended, we have our professional certifications, SHAM, HR, that they can avail for 20%. So again, whether you have your employees, your teams that would like to take any of our certification, our courses, they can do so, and we'll definitely be in touch. I'll try and request for the recording, have the recording, and be able to share to those that have attended. So my team would be able to follow up with this and assist you with any information, any feedback. Okay, yes, Sandy, I saw it, I think, from the beginning. You were asking for the recording of it. So definitely I'll make sure my team gets this, reaches out to you. But please feel free to suggest any other topics like similar to this, what we can do in the future, and hopefully we can be very supportive in offering. The more we educate, the more we're able to